Hello everyone, and welcome to Attaining the Second Cognition. I'm Gemma Beall, and this evening I want to share some thoughts and insights I've had going on in my head for quite a while, but have not been able to put them into words until now. The topic tonight is love and respect. I want to start off by saying, I don't love you. I don't love myself. I don't love humanity, and I don't love the universe. I do, however, respect you, respect myself, and respect humanity, not egomanity, and I do respect the universe. Okay, how many of you that survived the urge to hit the dislike button and unsubscribing? How many of you listened to this presentation felt like I punched you in the face when you heard me say, I don't love you? How many of you experienced a visceral reaction to those words, whether in your mind or in your physical form? Truth be told, I didn't experience anything when I said I don't love myself, I don't love humanity, and I don't love the universe, but when I uttered the words, I don't love you, I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. It wasn't any feeling in my mind, it was literally like somebody curled up their hand and punched me with their fist. Do you know or understand the cause of this reaction? If you look back over all of the religions and the New Age teachings and ancient writings, you see everywhere that it is written that love is everything. Love is God, love is life, love is this, love is that, love is fill in the blank. But is it really? In the self-help section of the bookstore, you see all of these books with the author's perspective that you must love yourself in order to heal yourself or to be whole. How many of you have been distracted with trying to love yourself and found it virtually impossible? We've seen many comments on the videos that people profess that love is necessary, but does humanity even understand that love is nothing but an emotion, and what they perceive as universal love isn't an emotion at all? I would call it respect, not love. There is one particular email that we received that stands out to me as a prime example of what I'm talking about. In this email, the person states, I'm going to continue holding doors for strangers, letting people cut in front of me in traffic, saying yes ma'am, yes sir, saying good morning, being patient with a waiter, and smiling at strangers as often as I'm provided the opportunity to do so. Because I will not stand idly by and let children live in a world where unconditional love is invisible. Join me in showing love and respect to someone who may not necessarily deserve it. Find your own way to swing the pendulum in the direction of love, because today, sadly, hate is winning. Now, I'll add that the email energetically came across as almost hysterical, and it was in response to one of our videos. This quoted part seems pretty keen, but the earlier parts of the email was an opinion that we were anti-humanity because we view love as something different than the person obviously does. But I want you to analyze this quote. Gemma's daily checklist. 1. Holding the door open for a stranger. Check. 2. Letting people cut in front of me in traffic. Check. Well, maybe. 3. Saying yes ma'am, yes sir. Check, check, check. Always, so my grandmother doesn't come back from the grave and beat my ass. 4. Saying good morning. Check. 5. Being patient with a waiter. Check. 6. Smiling at strangers as often as I'm provided the opportunity. Check. Now, I do the same thing that this person proclaims to do, but their opinion is that they do it out of love. But for me, I do it out of respect and to not be an asshole. Now, I don't think that others that don't do this are assholes, because they don't, but there's always an exception to the rule. I'm going to throw out some definitions here so that we are all on the same page. I'm sure some of you are tired of Gemma's word of the day in all of my videos, but please keep in mind, you may have watched all of my videos, but others might stumble upon this video first, and I want to make sure they too are on the same page with this discussion. Love means... Okay, for this definitions, I'm not going to use the Google search definition because it's limited, so I'm going to Merriam-Webster for help on this one, and there are quite a few definitions here. 1. Strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties. 2. Attraction based on sexual desire. 3. Affection based on admiration, benevolence, or common interest. 4. An assurance of affection. 5. Warm attachment, enthusiasm, or devotion. 6. The object of attachment, devotion, or admiration. 7. Unselfish, loyal, and benevolent concerns for the good of another. 8. A god or a personification of love. 9. An amorous episode. 10. The sexual embrace. 11. A score of 0. Tennis, guys, come on. Wow, that's a lot of meanings, but do any of them to you give meaning to your idea of love in your mind? Let's look at the definition for affection. Affection means a moderate feeling or emotion, or a feeling of liking and caring for someone or something. The definition of respect is an act of giving particular attention, or a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Wow, again, if I really think about these actions in my own mind after learning the actual definitions of these words, not love nor respect are proper descriptions for my motivations for these actions. So, all of you, I've learned something new here as I'm writing this script, so I'm going to walk you through my process here at the time the process is taking place, because these words I've used to describe my experiences don't really describe the feel I have in regards to these topics. So the question I'm going to ask myself, why do I do the things I do that are on the checklist? 1. Why do I hold doors open for others? Well, not really. I was taught that if a man approaches the door before me, I was to allow him to open the door for me, so he feels like the strong man. But if I approached the door before someone older than me, I was to open the door to show respect for their age. After all, they're old, I'm not. Somewhere in my 30s, I began opening doors for others if I get there first, regardless of age and gender, as to show my respect for them as another person. This doesn't mean that I love them. After all, I don't know them, and to me, love, the feel of love, and the feeling of love is reserved for those I know that evoke the emotion within me. Why do I let people cut in front of me in traffic? Well, as a general rule, I don't, because most people cut in traffic in order to not have to wait in line, which is very rude to the others that have been waiting in line for a long time. But there are times, and it is an individual situation, where it's obvious the person wasn't trying to usurp the line. For me, this is more of a feel, a knowing, than a perception from my 5 senses. I don't want to further congest traffic, so I'll let them in. Mostly, it depends on how I'm feeling that day. Do I want to be the asshole, or let somebody else be the asshole? Saying yes ma'am and yes sir, to be honest, I've never really said this out of anything other than fear while I was operating in the first cognition. But I see it as being respectful to others, and although it is an indoctrinated habit, I don't consider it one that is harmful. I consider it one that helps make and keep peace with my fellow humans, so I say it solely out of respect for others. Saying good morning. This is a habit I do solely out of the habit of being polite. Mornings suck. Mornings have always sucked, and I can't honestly recall a single morning that was good. So to try to make the mornings not suck, I say good morning to others. Sometimes I'll say it in a different language just to give it more impact. Being patient with a waiter. This one to me is a no-brainer. Egos are the ones that get impatient, Soikas don't. But if you analyze this, someone being rude to the waiter in most cases isn't impatient with the waiter. It's impatient over waiting, or the noise, or other factors, but the ego chooses to take it out on the waiter because they're there. Smiling at strangers as often as I'm provided the opportunity. I don't always smile at strangers, but when I do, it's typically because I'm feeling good. There are times that I will see someone that feels down, and I know this from the energies I'm picking up from them, and I will smile at them and send them energy to help diffuse the emotional energies they are emitting. So smiling at a stranger isn't a goal or a to-do for the day, it's a spontaneous and in-the-moment action. I know I've gone way off topic with this, and thank you for humoring me, but I felt it would be conducive to this discussion to show you my thought processes in action when I'm going through and analyzing things in my mind. I chose this topic because of a Soika tweak to present what I've learned on my path in regards to this universal concept called love. If you notice, on all of the items on the checklist, love is not a motivation for me on any of them. So the question arises, is this person that views their own actions as one of love, is it really? Has this person questioned their motivation in their own mind, or is their perception one that has been handed down through things they've learned from the external world? Love, or at least the concept of it, was a goal for a majority of my life. Since I was a small child, all I wanted to do was to be loved, not by myself, but by others. But the thought, the idea that I had within my mind of what love meant was romanticized, and it prevented me for many years of noticing and recognizing the love that I had from others. Love isn't loud. It isn't bells and whistles. It doesn't blind you and make you do stupid shit. And it isn't even emotions. I don't like to use the word to describe it because of how it's been bastardized by the mental impressions that everyone has around it. I know we use Soika in place of the word spirit, but Soika's definition, when you look beyond first cognition, is more appropriate to what I'm trying to explain than any earthbound definition or first cog thought that any human has in their head. In the New Age, they tell you that love energy is a universal life force, but there's no such thing as love energy outside of the love emotion energy, and any energy that does exist that has that love signature on it is a program that's been created and designed as a binding agent for consciousness. The force that I'm trying to explain to you and share with you is not energy. It's not life force because it's only created by the Soika at the moment it is needed to be created. It cannot be harnessed or co-opted because it's created in the moment and is the bond that ties consciousness in that moment. I know this doesn't make sense, and as I've explained before, there are not words enough to express universal concepts and give them true justice for others to understand through language. So as a suggestion, feel what I'm sharing in this paragraph and see where it takes you in your internal journey. What the New Age sells isn't love. It's something else contrived and sold to the masses because it emotionally makes them feel good. What the egos do out of false perception of love using this fake-ass love energy isn't what I'm describing to you. There are a lot of people that think that love can change the world, but the love they think it is doesn't change the world. There are a lot of people that think that people undeserving of love are the ones that need it the most, but I ask you this, how many of the undeserving have you seen changed and remained changed in the long term because a stranger showed them a semblance of love? Love doesn't change people. People make the choice to change for the better or not. The perception of love may be the catalyst that helps some people change, but ultimately, it's a choice of the consciousness or the choice of the ego that makes the change, whichever one is driving the form, and that change isn't necessarily permanent. If this fake love that the theosophists purport to the world was the ultimate catalyst to change in the world, wouldn't you think it would have changed for the better by now, rather than continually getting worse? You see more people participating in and doling out their personal energies into this love movement over the last 50 years, yet humanity's been quickly spiraling downhill in that time. Why is this? This is a question that each and every one of us needs to ask our Soikas, because only our Soikas know the answer to this question. You have the theosophists that do daily meditations all over the world for love and light and peace, but have done so consistently over the last 29 years since the harmonic convergence, or even before. There have literally been millions of people all over the world participating in and giving their personal energies to this cause. But if love and light brought change and peace of a positive kind, then please explain how it is that things have gotten worse, not better. Think about this. Does me opening the door for another person stop wars? Would it if there were 5 million of us doing it? Does me saying yes or no, sir, stop the crazy North Korean from threatening to blow us up? Would it if 10 million of us were doing this? Does me letting the asshole that drove a mile to jump in front of the line make the children that are starving not starve? Would it if 100 million of us were doing this? Does me being patient with a waiter cure cancer? Would it if 1 trillion of us were doing it? Does me smiling at a stranger miraculously fix the environment that we've fucked up? Would it if all of the people on the planet were doing it? The answer to these questions are all no. The world is full of ills that all of us contribute to in some form or fashion every single day. Even if your motivations for the checklist items were motivated by love, real or contrived, will not change the ills of this world. Only us becoming consciously and cognitively aware will change the ills of this world, and a lot more humans must do it in order for that change to happen. I know there are many people that do not understand mine and Endel's work, but what we are sharing is the tools we've used for ourselves to change ourselves for the better in order to change our reality. But our reality does not change the first cognition reality. But we are working on and wanting to show others the door to a reality where the ills of the first cognition don't have to exist. It is when we stop feeding false realities and tyrannical realities our energies that those realities begin to die. But people must change within themselves, and clinging to false perceptions that love is the cure is not going to change a goddamn thing. Only learning to control your energy emissions and not feed them to the false realities will allow those realities and all of the ills within them to die a death that it desperately needs, so that we can all of us, live in a reality that these ills do not exist. Thank you everyone for taking the time to consider this information, and thank you to all of our subscribers. Until next time, stay the course and don't give up on yourself or a better reality.